321, welcome to the David the Dog Trainer Podcast, episode 133. Today we're being joined once again by the dog daddy. Let's get him on. Yep, good call. See, that's
Recording in progress.
That's what I keep you around for. I would forget that every single time.
Yeah.
Just about every single time. Oh, I hear something. Good sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay. Wait, we got an echo on my end here. I don't know if you have it like playing somewhere. Oh wait, maybe it's gone. Yeah, I don't hear it anymore. It might have got fixed.
Let me know if you need me to lower the phone or.
No, this should be good. I think we should be all right here. So beautiful. Well, appreciate you hopping on, man. It's been a wild couple weeks for you.
Yeah, it has been.
Yeah. Hang on 1 second here. Do you happen to have like headphones or something with a microphone you could put on? It's just the audio quality is really echoey right now where you're at.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have anything with me.
Okay, no problem. We could probably make it work still. It's hearable enough here. So, all right, great. Well, listen, man. Like I said, I want to kind of get right into stuff here. I mean, you really had a wild couple of weeks with all of the kind of controversy that's been going around all over the place, and our boy Zach obviously making like his like life duty to go after you. So I just wanted to get on with you, just kind of see what's going on, see how you're handling everything, talk to you a little bit about all of that. So what's been going on your end, man?
I mean, definitely the internet can be a crazy place. And then there's also a lot of things happening like in real life as well, which is, I think we talked about it the last time, something that I have gotten used to and learned how to deal with, so to a certain extent, it's a lot better than if it was something brand new that was just happening now. I kind of almost like expected that these things could happen at any moment based on just what happens on the internet. Just, just dealing with a lot of people can be crazy. And so I'm just adapting basically to whatever is thrown at me, which, that's definitely been a lot. But yeah.
Yeah. Wild. I think the biggest the biggest thing that got me, to a place where I was like, I want to kind of cover this again and start talking about it and stuff like that was, this is the first time that it seemed like it's gone from just like internet squabbles to like beginning to be like a real life thing, like the whole like going after the venues and like, organizing protests at all the cities you're at and like things like that. Like that feels new.
Yeah, I think it's been a very long time of people trying to do things via internet, just creating all types of different articles and manipulation. And, I have built a very strong support team around me, like my customers and my followers. It's nothing new to them. So like, I don't have to hide anything. There's a lot of controversy that has been posted. I mean, literally the worst things possible have been said about me and millions of people have seen it, of things that are not true, but very like horrendous things that like, the people that left, they left. The people that did their homework and they understand what I do, they know the truth, they are there. So nothing can really surprise them, which means when people come up with anything new online and, they try to create a false narrative about me. Of course, there's always, both two sides, but I have a lot of support. And I feel like now because they realize that that's not working for them, they started to try different ways to try to affect me. And even then, it's not working. I mean, all my customers have to step over all the protesters and people telling them no. And 100% of them came in and 100% of them were satisfied with the training, even having to deal with all of that. So like, it wasn't even shocking to them. It was just like, okay, it's something to be expected because there's so many people always like just trying to, bring me down basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's wild, I think it's just crazy. I think when we did like the last video where we talked about it and we were watching Zach's video that he made on YouTube. I think at the time I went in on his page and like 25 of the last like 28 videos he posted were all about you, you know? And why do you think he has jumped into this like so strongly right now?
I think like especially in the last couple of months, I have really been growing much faster online.
Yeah.
My YouTube is just hitting like 3 million subscribers. I was definitely getting more views. I had a video in particular that I posted that got 10 million views like really fast. And that's when he started like coming for me more. I think there's just a lot of, I don't know, I think a lot of attention, towards me, and he started like really actually coming to my page and commenting and like just trying everything possible. And I did make a couple of videos back, like responding back, and it seems to have like triggered him a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think it's one of the things that we had said in the video we made last time we were talking about it is like you were really like almost staying out of it, like you were kind of just letting that wave pass you, and not let it impact you a whole lot. And I really had like quite a bit of admiration for that because the shitstorm that's been getting thrown at you is crazy. And listen, like I don't, obviously we did one podcast episode with each other obviously before, but past that, like we don't know each other that much. I don't know much about your personal life or any of those types of things, but I couldn't imagine myself being at the helm of, having millions and millions of people basically weaponized against me every single day. How has that impacted you personally? Like, I know you were supposed to go to the UK recently, just the other day, and I think that wound up getting canceled. And I think Zach was posting about, something along the lines of like, oh yeah, we got, word of the email that was sent out and that, Dog Daddy was looking to like take care of his mental health and stuff like that. Like, how has this been impacting you?
Well, so, obviously there's a lot going on. I going to a whole other country and anything can happen. Like I was never told I can't go and do it. I made the decision to cancel the class, to reschedule the class. It's nothing that they did at all. It was literally fully my decision. I could have gone, I would have done the class, and it's a seminar, everything was fine for me to go and do it. Again, putting myself to go to a whole other country to do for 1 weekend and all this happening there, it just wasn't worth for me to deal with, being that it is a whole other country. It's not like I can just fly back home the next day, it's just more to deal with. It's different. So I made a decision to reschedule the class. It has nothing to do, obviously it does because it's so much going on, but it's not like that, he canceled my class, like that he was able to do that because of protesters or getting other people involved in all the articles that they have written. None of those things would be enough to basically stop me from doing my classes because my customers will all still lined up to go. What he does is basically he's actually buying tickets to my classes. He's giving me $100 for every class that I do just to get the address. It's actually really funny because we found out that for Canada, his wife bought a ticket and she put her name on there, but when we go to the email, her email says her name, so they're not even smart enough to try to like use a different email. They put a fake name, but when we send them an email, they reply back, it comes literally with her full name. It's like so they're basically going as far as buying $100 tickets to be a spectator in my class to basically get the address where my classes are going to be. So it's very like my customers are not even willing to get a refund to give out the address. It's mostly them buying tickets to get the location. Now, again, I'm adapting to how to handle this. This just started within the last couple of weeks. So now we make the venues aware of it. The venues that we work with, they're on our side. They have seen the work. They stage there. They watch everything. They got their videos. And any upcoming events, they are made aware of beforehand. And they will handle it accordingly. But they are not, they're not basically backing down for the bullying that they're throwing at just like venues. Basically, they have nothing to do with what I do. They're public venues that people rent to hold events at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess I thought about that, but I didn't really think that much about that, of the idea of like, yeah, realistically, like how would you be able to, and obviously, you don't have to, I'm sure you have ways to do this, right? but how do you make sure that you don't get like moles basically coming into your class all the time? Because like anybody, like Zach could pay anybody off hypothetically to try to buy a ticket as a working spot or an audit spot and go to it. And like realistically, like how would anybody know otherwise,
Well, and I'm sure they do. Like I said, my classes are open. I mean,
Yeah.
$100, someone can come inspect and observe the entire class, and people come in, everybody's allowed to make that video. So out of the thousands of people that I have trained, there's been like literally one, maybe two people that have come out and said something negative about it, thousands, but they don't have any NDA, nothing. Like they can film, they record their entire sessions. So literally this is like thousands of people, hundreds of classes, since last year, that you cannot watch my videos and I always see people holding the phone and filming everything that's going on in the class. But as everything's so well explained and for 3 hours, that they would have to be haters to go there and come out say something, and it would be one person against everybody else that was there, so they really are out of place, and that's why I allow that, because I'm very transparent with what I do. Even as far as if they wanted to come out there and hold a sign in my class, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, sure.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, why would I have a problem with it? They have their opinion. As long as they're not disrupting the class. I do have bodyguards. I have literally, like, for some of these classes, there's 3 bodyguards to just make sure that if someone is there to create a problem, they'll be kicked out of the venue.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But again, as long as they're not physically interrupting with what I'm doing, because people are paying me to learn and they are invested into this, they travel, they need the help. I don't have a problem with them being there.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And again, like something else that I think is a big argument from like the, balance community of the force, or the force free community of the balance community, and the balance community of the force free community, is that willingness to like, come on, like, come on in, see what we're doing, right? Like we're not hiding anything. And then in your case, you're literally posting, it's interesting, like the video we watched again, every one of those clips were clips that you took, you know what I mean? And you posted online, just obviously taken out of context with it. So
exactly. And like I said, I'm very transparent. I explain everything that I do. There's a reason behind it. Sometimes there's things that the owners understand that, like, I'm pushing the dog more, but there is a reason behind it. They choose to let that happen because I've explained to them and because they have tried everything else that didn't work. Now, a lot of it is kind of like my fault for posting videos that are short and they're not, I don't really post like the entire class explaining everything that I'm doing. And so in person is definitely a totally different field than online. Everything that people say that I don't know how to do or that I don't do, it's not true. They just haven't been to my classes. No one that has spent the entire 3 hours with me have questioned my methods. Like they have questions and I answer them, and no one leaves there with being like, nothing that you did here made sense. Like, I don't understand why you do this. There's no need to do this. I mean, everybody, 100%. And these are veterinarians. There's many dog trainers that come there. Experienced dog owners, dog shelters. I have all kinds of people. It's not really like limited to just like uneducated dog owners, as people like to say.
Sure.
It's literally, even the dog owners that do come, the majority of them have tried many other training options. And one thing that I do agree that I could do better, but I have a reason why I do things the way that I do, is that I do sometimes have to push the dogs a little more in a class, because I know if I only have this one time with those dogs, right? And why would I do that? Why would I choose to do that? I feel like thousands of dogs that are given up on and they get euthanized, or people just cannot handle them, and they just, at the bare minimum, they have to give them to the shelter. Because if this dog doesn't get under control, they're going to get rid of the dog. And there's such a huge number of dogs. And it sounds kind of weird saying this because I'm only one person, right? I can't go and save every single dog. But I try to do the most that I can. So with the high demand and people understanding that I can provide them the help, if I can only be with them for that one session and I have to go to the next city to continue to do what I do, to basically, that's why I allow, spectators, so that more people can come and watch and learn, and they can go home and practice it. But if I just go there and I do a slow approach, I know they're going to go home and have the same exact problem. So if the dog would take 3 sessions just to get comfortable enough for me to handle them, and I know that I have an effective method that's going to get the dog to follow directions right there from the first session, but maybe it's going to be more stressful for them, I do push the dog to that more stressful approach, given that I know it's like a solution for the problem that the owner's having that otherwise I wouldn't be able to give them that solution.
Yeah, and
solve the problem, completely. But that's the only way that I'm able to demonstrate more of the training hands-on and be able to work with the owner close up to them, because a lot of these owners, they need so much training, so much help. that there's no way that it can do that by shouting at them from across the room what to do with a reactive dog,
Yeah. No, I understand for sure. Were you gonna say something?
No.
So you kind of brought up a couple of individual points that are actually on my list that I wanted to talk about. So let's start with one of the first things you said, which is, obviously you post a lot of short form content, right? And just looking at like your TikTok and your Instagram and all of that, like your most viewed videos are those short clips, right? That are very, I don't want to say dramatized, but like they're the intense, ugly parts of the training or the getting the dog under control, right? And it's an interesting conversation because I think most people's critiques of you, and I would say even from the balance community, like some of the people in the balance community that say, hey, like we have reservations about what he's doing, and I would say these were even my opinions for a while, is I understand, like every one of us who works with aggressive dogs has done that, right? Like every one of us has had to take that leash and had that dog coming after our face, and you got to be firm on him. You got to get him under control. You got to, just de-escalate the situation, right? And the thing is, like, you're just doing it on a much larger scale because you're traveling the country, and every single day you're seeing, 10 of those dogs, as opposed to, we're getting, one of those a month in, or two of those a month in, or whatever it may be, right? And the other side of things is like you were saying, like there's another, 2 hours and 50 minutes of the training session every seminar with these dogs. Why highlight that point? I guess is my question.
So it's a good question. So for me, believe it or not, I'm not really a social media person.
Sure.
Right. So I'm actually someone who, like, I create most of my own videos, and it's just most viral videos. Believe it or not, I work 6-7 hours training the dogs, and I'm driving back to my hotel and I'm editing that video, and 30 minutes later the video is posted.
Yep.
That's all it takes for me to do that. Now, I don't have the patience to really edit long format videos. It's hard for me to really just create that type of content. For two, obviously I became known for working with aggressive dogs. I have been working with aggressive dogs primarily my entire career.
Sure.
And because of videos that I have posted and people are drawn to that, two things. One, obviously I am able to reach the audience that need that type of help. There's just people that come to me, they're primarily signing up because they have just types of dogs.
Yeah.
I get all types of dogs in the classes, even little puppies that just come because the owners want to start them right. But primarily my clients are, this dog cannot leave the house. I already tried everything. We have, sent them for board and training. My trainers, my vet tell them to euthanize my dog. And why a lot of trainers don't even understand that is because they don't highlight what I highlight the most. So I did it to myself, but now my reputation is for those types of dogs. So the owners that reach out to me are mostly those owners. So I get to see all these crazy dogs that, they have been enabled for so long. Different trainers try different things, just enabling them even more, or the owners are just completely lost on what to do. And obviously, if I'm posting something, I think anyone would do the same. I mean, like you said, a lot of us, we work with dogs like that, but we don't necessarily highlight that because there hasn't been the need for it. But if you did one video that got you 50 million views and,
sure.
And 1 million followers overnight, I'm sure you would be like, well, I'm going to post more of this type of video.
Yes.
I mean, it's still a business. It's still I am on social media. Like I said, I'm not a social media person in the sense of this is all from the last year and a half.
Yep.
I have been online, I have posted videos here and there, but I have only really been consistent and became the dog daddy that people really know in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
At the beginning of last year, I had 60,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
So now to 3 million. So there's a lot of growth through understanding what gets people's attention.
Yeah.
And, I don't do it for the views alone per se. Like you said, when you get those types of dogs, you have to handle them a certain way.
Yes.
And I specifically get those types of dogs because of even at one point, I opened my doors to just take dogs in that people couldn't handle and just would surrender. No one else would take them. If they would go to the shelter, they'll put them down. When I opened my doors to take those types of dogs, it was the same thing. People started shipping them across the country to my property because I would take them and they want them to have this happy life, living on this farm that I had. And now it's the same thing with just classes. It's just people. They literally dragged these dogs out of the house that they had given up on, sometimes for 4 or 5 more years, they just thought the dog could never be helped. And then they see my videos and they sign up for my classes. And so because of that, I get the most extreme cases that you'd ever imagine. It's just dogs that don't know how to walk on a leash. They haven't left the house in 3 years, and then the owners just decide to try this one last time. And so I'm working through many issues that the dog has, not just the aggression. There's the fear, the aggression, the lack of obedience, the lack of understanding how to cope with even the basic stuff that most dogs know how to do. A lot of the dogs that I work with, they don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And so my class is not really designed to like, okay, now this dog is rehabilitated. It's designed to give the owner all the information that they need. Yeah. So for 3 hours, they're allowed to film everything, record everything, watch everything, ask questions. So they understand I deal with a lot of the general stuff and then as well as specific stuff for each dog that I work with.
Yes. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's tough because like you were saying, like, yeah, like if sudden, like, because your rapid growth has just been absurd. I mean, it's like the amount of followers you've been able to amass for yourself in such a short period of time is like, I don't know, as somebody that has peanuts in comparison as far as followers, I couldn't even fathom the idea of a year from now having multiple millions of people following me and looking to the guidance and stuff. So like you were saying, like, you know, when you see something works and gets those followers, it is very hard to avoid it. And it's tough because like sitting in this position, right, as somebody who's trying to look at the entire situation critically, right, and be as non-biased as I can about it, it's like, okay, well, you know, by highlighting that side of the training process, the getting the dog under control, I understand the perspective of, you know, obviously that's what's drawing clients to you, right? They're seeing that and they're able to relate to that because they've seen their own dog act like that a million times over. So they can put the context into their head of what they're seeing, right? But as, you know, a trainer, right? Or as somebody that works with these types of dogs or whatever it may be, it's like, it is hard not to ask the question though of like, are we shooting ourselves in the foot by sensationalizing that side of things and giving more ammunition to the other side to use it then out of context? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's something that is, you know, very new. It's not something that I've been doing for a long time. Like right now, as far as these types of videos, you know, it's mostly within the last year, really, for specifically the more aggressive dogs. Yeah. But also, you know, I have like I said, all kinds of different people, and I have trained. I also do, you know, a 5-day trainers course, and out of all these courses that I offer and the different people that come, I always have my website right there. Like people are welcome to come. It's $100, but I feel like if you really are curious, especially if you're a dog trainer, I'm in a different city every weekend. It's, I think, totally worth it to just come and see for yourself. Yeah. And none of the people that have come, that has spent the whole 3 hours, that ask that questions, are questioning what I do. Yeah. Like 0 of them. Like the one that spent the whole 3 hours with me and watch everything, I haven't seen one person be like, this was wrong, that was wrong. Yes. There may be some points where I would agree with them. Like, you know, we could be a little bit slow of an approach with the dogs. Sure. Which, again, I set up just classes. Limited. It's something new that I've been doing as well. So I can always evolve from that. But the people that were there, just so you know, there's trainers that have done the courses with Cesar Milan and Ivan, and they tell me that one day with me, they learned more than the entire course with just other people. Yeah. So that's their words. I have the feedback. I have the honest feedbacks from my customers, my clients, and that's really what I base what I'm doing. And I completely understand that I leave room for people to like be confused about what's going on, right? And misrepresent it. And that's my fault. And I'm working on getting better at that, like how on social media, because again, it's something that I have to learn to do because I have to now switch from, you know, my current pattern to then finding a way. I can just make this video and get 10,000 views, 100,000 views when 100 million people watch my short videos. And it's kind of like, I feel like I'm putting all this work and energy into something that such like a 1% of people are going to see, and the rest of the people are still going to be, you know, running around saying that what I do is all wrong because they don't see the videos. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And one thing I've said, you know, in regards to you in the past, in regards to other people is, you know, I think the training kind of speaks for itself. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that, you know, you're clearly getting results with your clients. Your clients are clearly happy. Like I was, before we got on this podcast, just doing like Google searches and stuff like that, trying to, again, get all the information. And I was like intentionally looking for like bad customer reviews. And there's really not that many out there. You know what I mean?
So yeah, I think I don't have any sort of questions as far as the training. I don't look at it and think like, oh, this is horrible training, or you should do all these things different. And again, that's not for me to say anyways. I think it's just the representation of it online is what throws a lot of people off, and that's what gives people sometimes a bad taste as far as it's concerned.
And again, I would be the first person to want to change my approach. One, if people were, having complaints about the training,
sure.
Or two, if someone was able to come and show a better way.
Yeah.
Like the only way that someone would be able to say that there's a better way would be if they are kind of dismissing the fact that these owners need the help like immediately.
Yes.
And that's something that is not my fault. It's not the dog's fault, but it's already, the problem is already there, So when they hire me, I really try to be that person who basically convince the owners to keep the dogs, because I'm able to get the dog under control as quickly as possible. When another trainer may not do that, they may do a slower pace, but a lot of times, even if it was to take like a month, and I know it sounds horrible, but if you don't help the dog within do something quick to get some type of results, these owners are like at their wits' end, and they are going to get rid of the dog.
Yeah.
And it's not like a one person here and there. It's such a huge demand for this type of help. Like, my dog under control right now, or my landlord is gonna kick me out, or my husband is gonna divorce me. It sounds exaggerating, but it's not. Like, so when you have like a serious problem in your hand and you are like literally stressed out every single day, you are sick and you can't go to the hospital because no one can watch your dog.
Yeah.
You can't have your friend, you have kids and they want to have friends over. You cannot let them have friends over because you're constantly having anxiety that your dog is gonna do something.
Yeah. That's the point that a lot of people are missing in this, even we obviously train in different ways, and like we're in a facility, right? We don't do seminars and stuff like that, but like, we work with a lot of the same types of dogs. And the thing people that aren't in the weeds with this stuff, working with these dogs every day, forget to realize sometimes is how inhibiting it could be on an individual's life owning a dog like this. Like, they can't do anything. Like, we got a call with somebody just yesterday that literally they were saying, we can't go on a vacation right now because if I leave town, my husband needs to stay with the dog. And if he leaves town, I have to stay with the dog. And if we go to work and we have to be gone for X amount of time, like we're shit out, it's just like, it's so awful for some of these people sometimes. And they're struggling so bad that it's like, we have to just get this situation under control,
And for me, I specifically get those types of dogs. That's like the type of dogs that the majority of the dogs that come to me, they have scenarios like that. And I should have written down a whole list of reasons why the dog has to be under control right away. Yeah. Because just people they're not living with those dogs. They don't seem to understand, like you said, how it affects their life on a daily basis. It could even be something to do with the dog. It could be that the dog has some type of infection and they need to be treated, but the vet won't treat the dog because the dog is so aggressive. And I'm able to show them, how to get the dog at least under control, following direction. A lot of just owners, they cannot just put a mask on them. They have to walk these dogs out in public. They don't have a fenced in yard. Every time they go out, the dog is going crazy, And if the dog is reactive towards people and dogs, and they can't even walk this dog, and they have surgery or something, now this dog is like literally like ruining their life, unless they get under control. Yeah. And so there's a whole list of reasons. And one thing that I heard you say, I was watching the podcast that you did, the first, about what's going on online. Yeah. And he said something about the difference between getting a dog under control and then training them. Yes. And you can't train a dog in a training session. I can give them a lot of information and knowledge and different techniques and show them all the different ways and things. I really teach them how to actually. It's funny too, because all the trainers that come to my classes, out of all the classes, like almost every class has some trainers that they always say I'm the most soft, balanced trainer that they have ever seen. Sure. So in comparison, because the specific dog that we have at hand, it's like if you're going to actually get them under control, I'm using the minimum amount of force. Yeah. A lot of trainers that would be afraid of that dog or not really understand how to handle them, they would use more harsh corrections to get the dog to really comply. And in reality, I do the minimum. So what you see is like the first few seconds. So let me use this as an example. Like that dog that is named Zach, that is featured a lot. That was like, is that the white one? Of the first, it's like a black, white and brown spotted dog. Yeah. So the dog's name is Zach. They live in California. They brought the dog to me for the first time. Now the dog, even it wasn't a group training. This dog was like far away from everybody because he redirects it redirects towards the owner.
Yep.
So when he has any type of stimulation around him, like whether it's a person or a dog, the dog gets so tense and aggressive that it redirects towards them, and they have been getting bitten by the dog. And the dog does not accept a muzzle, and no trainer is willing to work with this dog because they have tried, the few that have tried, they have to work from a distance, and as soon as the dog sees a person or a dog, it redirects towards the owners. And the owners are there holding this dog, trying to get it to relax. So that's why I have to go there and take that dog from the owner. This was after the dog being there for like hours, by the way. He was like the last dog that I worked with. Yeah. Because they were so far away, there were so many dogs that were reactive, and the dog is just sitting there quietly, but from very far away. As soon as he starts to walk towards the class, the dog starts to become aggressive and redirect. So I said, I have to take over the leash. You cannot put a mouse on them. You can't give the owner directions because they're so far away from them that they cannot even hear you. Yeah. So I go ahead and I take the leash. Now, after I worked with the dog a little bit, and he didn't even make that much progress because he needed a muzzle, and they couldn't put a muzzle on him at all, even with all the tips that I gave them. Yeah. So I took them, go home. I showed them some techniques for them to use to get the muzzle on the dog, and they started working with him and making progress because now the dog can no longer redirect towards them. They only brought the dog back to me one second time, and by that second time, the dog was like 50% better. Yep. You know, it still has his issues, but he is comfortable with the muzzle. He did not put up nearly as much of a fight when I took the leash, and he was relaxed much quicker. He was able to hang out around dogs and people in the second class, and I'm supposed to see them again for just a third time, you know. But this was from them being completely hopeless, and the owner understands everything that happened in that first training. They know that without that, they would have made no progress. Yeah. And so that's what makes the total difference. Like the owner, when they really highlight the fact that like everything else has been tried, including balance and positive reinforcement, but without someone taking over the leash, and the dog would never just be relaxed with you. Like he would have to go through that fighting and a stressful moment first, you know? Yeah. But, you know, again, that's what I'm trying to get at is that after I do that, there's so much information on how they can work with the dog at home, how to redirect the dog, how to make it less intense for them. But it can't even get to that level if this dog is relentless and super reactive to where they're redirecting towards the owners, even from very far away. Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of segues then into one of my next questions, and another thing that I see as a common critique, right, which is, you know, the seminar environment, right, feels like the worst possible environment to be able to like work with. You know, in a perfect world, obviously, we would have even an extra day that we can kind of let the dog de-escalate a little bit before we start working with them. And then at that point, obviously, if you need to get them under control and start your training and stuff, obviously, that would be fine. But like a big room with a ton of people and a bunch of dogs, right, and limited amount of time, right? You know, even 3 hours, you do long, you know, that's a long amount of time to spend with somebody, obviously. But, you know, it's still in the grand scheme of things a pretty short period of time, and it's probably a lot of information being thrown at the owner all at once. Why is it so how do you feel the seminar is, or I guess given all of those points, why do you choose to do the seminars exclusively as opposed to formatting in a different way where maybe you spent a week in a city? Because obviously you want to travel around and help as many people as possible, but being able to create something that you could stretch it out a little bit longer and have more time with the owner and dog, do you think that would provide for better long-term results?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, one of the first things that all my clients are made aware of when they come to the class is that it's not an ideal environment to train. But they also understand that even with just classes, a lot of the cities, they get completely sold out, and there's more people begging to come, and there's no more, you know, there's not enough time. I have a personal life as well. Sure. So I'm just trying my best to help as many people as possible. Yeah. So that's why we do the seminars, and the owners are aware that they're coming there to get all the knowledge, and they have to pay a lot of attention. I mean, they get an email that tells them, come with an open mind, come to stay the entire time, pay close attention, get videos if you need, because we want them to have all the knowledge so that they can go home and continue to work with the dog. And it's, again, me trying to do the best that I can, and it's not claiming that this is like the ideal scenario. Plus, it's not something that I have been doing for years and years and years either. You know, all the times that I did group trainings, they would be separated into dogs that are under 6 months and then over 6 months, and then, you know, dogs that are aggressive, they would get a private section first. And then as they start to improve, they will come to a group training. I'm basically only doing these seminars because of the huge demand and the amount of emails that we get from people that have their faces bitten off, huge wounds on their arms, dogs that have killed each other at home. Those are the types of emails and messages that I get on a regular basis from all over the world. People are like, please help my dog. They killed each other. Now they're trying to kill the other dog. They bit my kid, 3 times, and we want to stop that. And they send me horrific pictures of the attacks that have occurred and the stressful situation that they're currently living in. And so because of the huge demand, and again, just me being there and trying to be helping everybody, I have been doing the seminars for a while, and it's actually something that I am slowing down. It was already part of the plans, and I'm only going to be doing one seminar, per city, and then allowing more spectators. So starting in November, my last one now with a lot of people would be in multiple classes would be in Austin next month. But then after that, everything is going to be one single class. There's going to be other trainers helping. So it's going to be definitely a lot more better structured with a microphone. The whole goal is for people to come and pay attention and observe and learn that way. And also we're going to separate the dogs a little bit. So out of the 15 families that signed up already, they're going to be split into like maybe 3 groups. Before everybody's a little bit more under control, instead of everybody just coming in there and being chaos. Because again, you kind of adapt and you learn as you go.
Sure.
Like this is something new. It built on demand. I started with classes that were just a few people. I was driving across the country, and then now we have weekends with hundreds of people coming. So it's like I did 4, 6, and in New York City, even like 8 classes back to back. 2 classes per day. And that's a lot. And that's with anywhere from 10 to 20 families per class with dogs and then spectators. But now again, we're slowing down on that, so I have more time. I can prepare for this Saturday. We have the class, and it's easy to fly my trainers in. I also have been training other people, since this year. I started this year. So every few months we have a whole other new set of trainers that fly in, and people flying in from all over the world to learn and spend 5 days with me. I had another trainer that was in my last one all the way from France, and he's a dog trainer with 500,000 followers on YouTube, and he came to learn my ways. There's many trainers who have very successful facilities that have taken my courses. And they are joining the team basically to help take the clients. We get thousands of emails every single week from people from all over the world that want to sign up. And that's why I did so many classes back to back, and because of the reason why I put so many people together, which is the maximum that is very overwhelming for everybody involved, even myself. Sure. But I had to do it first to realize, okay, we're trying to evolve and get better, basically. Like I started my classes with, I put this limit in my head. I could do 20 dogs, 20 families with dogs. And then eventually got to that level. And some families a lot of people had 2 dogs, and it would be like 30 dogs plus in a single class, and working for 5 hours. And it was just a lot. And I split the classes into 2 groups now of 10 and 10. It's a lot better, but still a lot. We are constantly trying to find ways to accommodate the business, the demand, and not sacrificing the dogs. In the middle of it.
Yeah, it's funny. You're like answering my questions before I ask them. So that was going to kind of segue into the next thing, which is like, I love this like noble cause of like, you have so much demand for obviously your services, right? You have a lot of people that know you could help them, right, with their situation. But like, man, as you're exploding just faster and faster and faster, like it's, I would say already it's impossible for you to help everybody. You know what I mean? By yourself, like you just Augusta, right? Like you can't help every single dog in the world, right? So you have plans to start then, like realistically, the next thing would be like helping to either scale or then partner off with other trainers that you could refer business to. Like, are there people that you trust around the country as trainers that you refer clients out to, like post your seminars and things like that?
Well, so because I know there's obviously a lot of people that message me like, I'm a dog trainer here, let me
Sure.
be a part of your team. I did the course for that reason. I
Yeah.
spent 5 days with them, and this does not make them a dog trainer. So what the
Sure.
course does for 5 days is obviously everybody that is already a dog trainer, and they just come and they learn a few new techniques from me, and they kind of get on board with how I do things. Then they would quickly be dog daddy certified trainers. This is just to basically my audience to know that these people have worked with me hands-on. We're on the same page, and I can be comfortable referring them to my clients. So next year, there's going to be a lot of trainers that will be on board on my website that people will be able to directly sign up to them through my website and sign up, for one-on-one classes with them around the world. So I'm training them for that reason. The people that are switching careers, they're looking to become dog trainers. They do the 5-day trainers course, and then they get to come to my seminars for free to continue to practice. And they won't become a dog trainer for me, and they understand that unless they get approved, meaning someone that I feel comfortable that they are giving good advice to the owners. They know how to handle these dogs. They're not going to be, bullshitting with the training, basically. But I get about, I would say, half and half. People that have no idea how to train dogs, and they're like doctors that come to my classes. They want to become dog trainers, and literally like all kinds of different classes of people. But there's also the other half that are professional dog trainers with a successful training career right now. I mean, the last one before this one, that I had a couple, for example, that they are the one that hosted my seminar in Minnesota. I'm sure you have seen because it's on the hot dogs Instagram. He's like sending people to give them negative reviews, but basically they have a 100-dog successful, a 100-dog training facility that they board and train, and they have flown. They actually went on a trip with me to Brazil. We have never known each other before that. They came to my 5-day course. We have traveled together now. They have been to many of my seminars. I held my seminar in that venue. And they are, again, someone that didn't need to do my course to become a dog trainer.
Sure.
They are really successful on their own. A lot of people, they definitely are intrigued, and they want to be a part of what I do, and they want to learn that I do have a lot of things that I teach people that you don't get in a regular trainer's course. I have the privilege of being able to grow up learning from dogs. And I literally spent the first 18 years of my life learning from dogs. And so I'm not basically, limited to just that. Like I have learned like anyone else would learn, watching videos, reading books, like, working with other trainers, working hands-on, doing research, like just literally seeing all the different methods and different techniques, and then implementing whatever I found would be worth it, and kind of eliminating everything else. But what I really do that a lot of people don't do is have a very good understanding of the dog. Like I tell my clients things about their dog that they are shocked. They're like, how do you even know that?
Yeah.
The dog could be just afraid, and I know that dog is reactive, or that dog, that whatever that behavior that translates into when the dog leaves the room that we're working in. And so I'm able to base on like, okay, this is what is the best approach for your dog. So for example, I would tell, a lot of times I'll take the leash off my client's hand with just crazy, huge, lunging dogs, very aggressive. And then there's one that's quiet, sitting in the room, doing nothing, wagging tail, letting everybody pet them. Yeah. And I will say, let's put a mouse on this dog because this one is going to put up a fight. Yeah. And everybody's like, really? Even the owner's like, yeah. I'm like, your dog is running quiet because he hasn't been pushed. All the issues that you're having with your dog is because they're enabled. But your dog is actually pretty confident about what he's going to do. Yeah. He feels like he cannot be stopped. So he allows me to know that beforehand. So sometimes, like there's a video in particular, I don't know if you have seen, I reposted it recently of a dog. It was in Miami. I had an orange tracksuit on, and the dog has a muzzle. It's like he's like hogging my leg and everything. It's a black dog. Yeah. That dog, for example, he had bitten people severely 3 times, but you would never have thought of that in the class. For anyone that was uneducated, I didn't explain everything properly, they would think that I triggered the aggression. I poked the dog until they became aggressive. But in reality, the problem's already there. It's just dormant until you push the dog. Yes. Now, most people are like, why are you pushing the dog? Well, because whenever he decides to be aggressive, he's serious. He will go for the kill. He had attacked 3 people and caused severe damage without any fear. He's just ready to deliver the bite. And the owners have no control over the dog. Like they couldn't just tell them, come here, sit, leave it. The dog has no respect for them. So when I try to reinforce that the dog have to follow direction and do those things, because again, I know without that, the dog will not get the help that they need. Yeah. Like the dog was fine with me until I made it do something that it didn't want to do.
Yeah.
But I find it extremely important because if the dog does not think that they have to do what we're telling them to do, they're just enabled and empowered to just do whatever they think is appropriate. So when a dog is having aggression issues, it becomes a big problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's funny you mentioned the dog that like nobody would have suspected, you know, was going to display like aggression issues, but you obviously were able to see it and notice that, which is so common. I mean, like people just they don't understand their own dog. That's why they're hiring people. You know what I mean? And as you work with more and more dogs like that, right? Or we work with more and more dogs like that, you start noticing all the similarities between them, right? And the longer you do it, the more you can look at like, wow, like what you're displaying right here is so similar to, you know, these 10 dogs that I worked with, you know, last year, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you could kind of predict how they're going to act and what you're going to need to do to help them, right? So I'm totally with you on that.
I think, I think the biggest problem is, again, the trainers that are very educated,
Yes.
they're only educated on like what they got themselves educated on. Like they're limited to that, if it makes sense. Like I'm looking at everything that I know from my own experience combined with everything that I have read and everything that everybody else has to say. And so when they say that, for example, like, aggression is going to trigger more aggression, and they're going to basically try to mask that problem. So if you work with a dog like that, for example, there is absolutely no way for you to make that dog stop being aggressive when they're that enabled and so confident that they can just step all over you and do whatever they want, because the dog is already friendly towards me until I push them, like I said. And for as long as they don't have a good leave it because I'm telling you to leave it, they are out of control and they are a liability. And so a lot of those trainers, they would say, again, they would only see the fact that the dog only showed aggression because I pushed them. And they wouldn't be able to explain why it is necessary to push the dog. Instead, they would think that you don't have to push them. You can just not put them in those positions. And that's very unrealistic. So for owners that have to ever be in contact with anyone, it's just a matter of time before this dog will lash out. Now, that's a matter of, how dogs learn by association and by conditioning them. So when I work with a dog like this, the owners, they leave the training understanding that there may be more aggression before the dog gets better, because they understand what triggers the aggression. It's not that I'm just randomly triggering aggression on the dog. They know that when the dog gets pushed, because I ask them examples. What happens when you go to the vet? They're like, oh no, cannot go to the vet. So the dog may seem fine to the general public, but when I ask them specific questions, they're like, no one can come over. He will just pick and choose whoever he likes. Whenever he doesn't like someone, he goes for the kill. He'll just latch onto them. So I'm like, okay, we need to work on this dog, understanding that leave it means leave it. And then in the meantime, the dog is not trained. So the owners, again, they go home with homework, with keeping the eyes on the dog, understanding the body language that indicates the dog is getting triggered, and you have to redirect them. In the meantime, you're working on conditioning the dog to be very reliable with their commands. So this is one of the, that's basically, I would say I break my training into like a few steps, right? So one, understanding the dog's body language, understanding when to intervene by giving them directions, and then step two would be to be able to communicate with the dog. So you have to be able to tell your dog, leave it, come, sit down, like just get the dog to respond to your commands willingly and being comfortable to do so. And we do that by conditioning the dog to become comfortable doing that. And some dogs are not going to be comfortable right away, whether they're too afraid or they put up a fight, like some of the dogs that you see, whether they like literally poop themselves because they're so afraid, or they get really aggressive and tense. They go through that phase first. That is always solved in the first few minutes of me working with them. And they start to follow directions. When they follow directions, then we go to the third step, which is basically by repetition. So every time this dog have someone come over and they're no longer allowed to be in charge of being at the door and being aggressive, and the one is telling them leave it, but then also creating a positive environment for the dog. So the dog is realizing they cannot be aggressive, but they also don't have a need to be aggressive. They can just hang out with someone in the house or whatever triggers them. They work around that trigger by creating a positive environment for the dog. Then by repetition, the dog becomes conditioned to having that association with people or dogs or whatever, that they don't have to be triggered. They don't have to have a reaction to them, because the owner showed them, the dog has to respect them. And when they respect them, they're kept safe. They have nothing bad is going to come from it. And it's basically building positive association, just like you would use positive reinforcement. But the difference is we're working with dogs that positive reinforcement only would not work. Like the dog would, as soon as they're triggered, they would go back to being aggressive. And what I explain to my clients too, which I think any trainer could understand this and agree that every time a dog is practicing the bad behaviors, they are regressing, they are going backwards, they're practicing that, they're learning to behave like that.
Yeah.
So basically, if let's say you're doing your best, right, to use only positive reinforcement, you're avoiding certain triggers, but every time you're out in public and a dog just barks at a dog and runs by, like someone jogging, for example, and your dog is lashing out, going crazy, they are practicing to do that the next time they see a dog.
Yeah.
So basically, if you cannot 100% prevent that using positive reinforcement, that means you're walking backwards every time you cannot reinforce it.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Obviously, I refer to it as like those types of behaviors are self-reinforcing, right? So like him doing that thing, that dog freaking out every time he sees another dog strengthens the behavior for next time, which is why.
So I always tell my clients, if you can get a dog to stop with only treats, then there's nothing wrong with doing that. I just want them to be equipped, and they agree with me 100% that they would not be able to do it with only treats. That's on them to decide, but that's what I get the feedback that they 100% agree. Now it's on them to decide whether they want to just enable the dog, because now they understand if every time that I just offer my dog a treat or I call them over and they just completely ignore me and I can't reinforce it, they are practicing the bad behavior. So yes, I want to be able to reinforce it first and then give the dog a choice to make the right decision. But at the moment that they don't make the right decision, I will reinforce the right decision for them, because dogs can't always make, the best decisions for themselves.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. So I want to get back to the conversation we were having about essentially this idea that like you yourself can't help everybody, so you ultimately need to scale and build some sort of connections or team or something to be able to provide the best services possible for your clients. Obviously, right? At least on as big of a scale as you want to be able to do it. Obviously. Now you were saying, obviously, I know you started doing your trainer's course. I think that's new as of this year. You've had a couple of rounds of it, I believe. You're working with trainers. You're helping teach them your ways. What is your opinions as far as, like, I totally understand this, you can't just like find Joe Schmo dog trainer and be like, yeah, go to this guy without knowing anything about them, without knowing anything about their skill set, etc., which is why you bring them in for your trainer's course to help, teach them your ways, because your ways work. What is your opinion on, are you also building connections with trainers that might train differently than you, but are still able to get the results? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. If there's something that I completely disagree with, like I just found like my clients are gonna go, and from experience, from what I have and the expectations that my followers have, that I wouldn't agree with, I would tell them like you can't be given that type of information because it's reflecting us in a negative way, because clients would go there and be like, I don't like that information because it's completely different than what I'm teaching. But if they are teaching something different that is effective, that it cannot be harmful, then they are completely allowed to use different ways, Again, I explain sometimes why I don't use certain approaches that could work for some dogs, because I work in such a rush because of the demand. And that's something that is kind of a problem for me, because there's like so many people emailing me specifically for just crazy out of control dogs that I need to go for straight to the most effective method that I can use. So I don't have a chance to really try certain methods first and see if it works or not. So to give an example, like I have, one of the trainers that works with me, she likes to use a halting a lot. Like she kind of creates her own with the leash, and she finds it very effective for some dogs. But I find that a lot of dogs take a very long time to get comfortable with it before he actually becomes a halter. So when I work with a client for the first time, I'm not going to even take the time to do that, because the time that the dog is struggling with that, like I would already be much further ahead with a different tool or different approach. So I wouldn't use that. But if she has one-on-one time with a client, which again is going to be a lot more affordable, a lot more time with the client, then she should be using that. There's nothing wrong with that.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. No, and that's the biggest thing is, it's also tough because like we get a lot of dogs that come in that have been to, just like you, like 2, 3, 4 other trainers before. And in a lot of cases, we're not just talking force-free trainers. We're talking other balance trainers, people that use similar methods or similar tools or any of those types of things and have still not been able to find the success they're looking for. So it always is so hard because like you can't just look at somebody and be like, well, your ideology says that you are similar to me, so I could just refer somebody to you. Because a lot of the success of the training, I think, has to do with how well you're educating the owner. And like you have a way of connecting with your clientele. That's why you have such a diehard fan base, right? And diehard clients and stuff like that, right?
So the thing, Sorry to interrupt, because
No,
it's
it's
a
okay.
good point. I find that training is very complex, and my way is not really a one set way. Even though it may look like that to some
Yeah,
people, the reason that I'm so successful with my classes and people that have gotten to understand what I do is because I give them the entire complexity of what training really is.
yeah,
Understanding the dog, understanding how to communicate with them, understanding how to deal with specific scenarios, specific situations, and how to implement different methods. I'm not against any method that would not hurt the dog, that would actually be effective.
sure.
So if someone would be able to show me a way, again, with just positive reinforcement, I would be open to it. And if I find it like, well, again, whatever reason that I would have, I would want someone to argue why that reason is not good enough of a reason.
Yeah,
And then I feel like it gets to a point where it ends at a matter of different opinions.
yeah,
Everybody has the right to their opinion. Someone could say, I'd rather my dog be euthanized than to go for a few minutes of stress.
sure.
That is their opinion.
Yeah.
And I would say, then you have the right to your opinion.
Yes.
But if they were to say no, because there's a better way to still get the results, then I want to see that.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that. Totally with you on that. So talking trainers and stuff, I saw somewhat recently you were with our boy Garrett at American Standard Canine. How did that link up happen?
Let's see. Well, I actually was going to be in Florida. I think he had reached out on massive, I think on comments, a while back.
Sure.
So I was going to be near him in Florida, and I actually sent him it was my idea to say, let's do a collab.
Yeah.
He wanted to do a podcast, and he said, it was something that he was just starting new. I think I was going to be like the first person on the podcast. So I decided to just do some collabs instead. I feel like, the trainers that I have talked to, like, we are very much on the same page. Like, they understand like what I do because we talk, and any questions that they had, any concerns that they had, it can easily be addressed by having a conversation.
Yeah.
It really comes down to, again, I have been training dogs professionally I haven't trained dogs my entire life. I have been training professionally for the last 11 years.
Yeah.
In the US. Like, I have enough proof of evidence that I have worked with clients for the last 11 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes more often than others, but I have, even before now, I was traveling around already and I was doing a 3-day training course in the client's house for an entire year. And almost every other weekend I was in the owner's house for 3 days when I first started, And so that was another program that I offered. I have done board and training. I have done group private lessons, group private and the 3-day course. And the 3-day course became the most successful one because people would have the 3 days to learn everything that they needed in their own environment.
Yeah.
But anyways, I did it, just basically because I was there. And just like anything else, like maybe there's something that we agree, there's some things we don't agree with, but
Sure.
Nothing major. I think we're pretty much on the same page with we wanted to be completely honest. We never really discussed much of like different training methods.
Yeah.
In person, but it was just that I went to his house, I met his dogs, we went out to eat something, we went out shopping, and we did, a few collab videos. And that was it.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. So we had Garrett on the podcast like right around the same time that you did your first episode with us as well, and I didn't know hardly anything about him going into the podcast episode aside from he was wildly popular as well, and that was one of the best conversations we had was with him. I mean, he's so down to earth. He does what he does. He does it very well. And yeah, I mean, obviously between the two of you guys, you could see very, very apparent differences, obviously, as far as how you train, what you do, your approaches, stuff like that. But I think the cool thing is, and this is where I think, the force-free side and even some of the balance training side, they just miss the point on is like, when you're confident in your own methods, right? When you're confident that your approach works, regardless of what it is. Like, I'm very confident that my approach works with my clients. Garrett's very confident that his approach works with his clients. You're very confident that yours works with your clients. You don't feel the need to bicker and argue so much about, like, whose is better. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, that's, for a lot of these trainers, like, I would be completely. I actually, as an idea that I had, is actually doing a collaboration, like as far as a seminar together with some of these trainers, And so it's exactly that. Like, I'm very confident in my ways, and And honestly, too, I don't think it's really that different. It's just because
Sure.
the
Sure.
video
Yes.
styles are different. But when it comes down to really training, it's
Yeah.
really not that different. Like that, I may have a couple of different techniques that I use. They
Sure.
have a couple of different techniques that they use or different tools, but the concept is the same. The idea is the
philosophy,
same. And I
yes.
think honestly, with all balanced trainers alike, it's the same. It's just that sometimes you show different things.
Yes.
Not all. I know some trainers that are more like, for example, I think the biggest thing that people would not agree with is, which again, people get the misconception that I do that, which is the dog just have to comply at all costs.
Yeah.
And they have to obey us. And you stop them by being physical and correcting them, and that's it. And the dog will now respect you and you have the dog under control. I think anyone that would do that, we would agree that that's not correct. But I have never done that on or off camera. But I don't have the full picture painted into my videos, right? So again, every single one of those videos, they got all the follow-up in person. My videos are more designed to attract people to go to my website to come see in person, because I am a better teacher in person than online.
Yeah,
now, sure. I have to get better, and for my own benefit, to create better videos that would educate people more, because I don't have any reason to be insecure or doubtful of my training in person.
Yeah.
Because of the feedback that I get throughout the years. I mean, it's literally the tips that I get, like money tips that I get from my clients that already pay me triple than what they pay just other trainers.
Yeah.
And the people crying in my classes, the amazing feedback that I get. And like, it's very genuine. I have never asked people to leave me a positive review, never asked them once, not even a single time. And I get like the most heartfelt messages back from them because they are inclined to do that. And so I think that speaks volume. And I can say this it's going to be a public video, right? I have never asked someone to leave me a positive review.
Yeah.
And I just give them my all, and they go home, and that's it. And I get a lot of I think the testimonials that I get, which you can see through, well, other than of course in a video testimony, like if someone is there, I said, you want to give us a testimony, I obviously someone is there with me, they ask that. But
sure.
Besides that, I don't ask them to go online and leave a comment or send me a message. None of that. I have never in the entire time I have trained. So the fact that they give me that type of feedback, and they also they feel a form about their dog before they come. So we know, like, I don't usually look at it. I have people that look at it for me, and sometimes they'll give it to me over the phone as I'm going to the class, just so that I understand a little bit. But I find it like a waste of time, because a lot of times the owners don't really understand their dog too well, So I don't really know what I'm getting. I'd rather just go there, see the dog, and be like, okay, this is what this dog needs. I do a quick evaluation, and then I know the best approach for their dog. Yeah. And it always makes sense for the owners. They're like, wow, you got my dog. Like, that's exactly what my dog is. Yeah. And so, but again, in person is different. And I do feel like for my own benefit that I have to get better. Because I know for a fact that if I was to put everything that I do in the long classes into a video, definitely at least some of the controversy will go away, because people get to understand more context to what I do.
I totally agree. And like I said, like it's hard to try to it's hard to have opinions about like what somebody that's gained so much success is doing that should be changed. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, like from a training standpoint, like, yeah, everybody's, if you're in the balance side of things, like everything that you like to shit on or say is bad, right? You've likely done in a very similar fashion many times before yourself, right? But it's the way that people market and brand themselves, which is really why people think everything is so different, like so wildly different, when it actually isn't, But yeah, like I said, like when you first started coming on the scene, like I started seeing some of your videos pop up here and there. And yeah, it was a little bbit of the like, wow, that's really dramatic and like sensationalized, and like, who is this guy? What's going on? You know what I mean? I think a lot of people, yeah, it takes them aback a little bit initially, especially if you're in the training community. But I remember the first time I watched one of your YouTube videos, and I think the video specifically was a client that had like 4 or 5 German Shepherds that were out of control in the house, and you spent like a couple days with them. I think it was probably your 3-day program, and I remember they were all in this room in their crates, and they were going fucking bananas and stuff like that. And the video, you showcased the whole thing. I think it was like a 20-minute long video where you detailed not just getting them under control, right? That first minute or so when you had to basically get all the dogs to chill in the crates, but the training process. And I was watching the training you were doing, and I was like, there's nothing crazy about this. You know what I mean? You're just doing the things you need to do, right? And you're helping the owner with their problems. And I think unless people go into some of those long form videos, which we know with the attention span that most people have right now, they're not going to do that in most cases. It's really hard to get the full picture off of your current post that you make,
Right. Well, the problem too is that, like I said, it's not for a lack of trying. If anyone is watching this and they have really good videographer, they understand dogs and they want to come and film. I have spent thousands of dollars and I have a lot of footage on videographers, but I don't like how they came out.
Yes.
So they don't really. I feel like if I put out that stuff, it's still not the same as in person, and people still now they're gonna even reinforce what they think, which is not true. So unless it gives that. The feel that I give in person with my classes, I don't want to put those out. But I have hours and hours and hours of footage from many videographers that literally have traveled with me for like a month at a time, filming everything. But they are not dog people. They don't really understand what to get. There's always like one thing or the other that I just don't. It's not perfect. So for me, I haven't put them out. The short videos, on the other hand, I live in LA, and when I moved to LA. I made some connections. I was working with the Hype House, which is like, the biggest TikTokers, and I was the dog trainer for them, going there every week. So I got a lot of, I have been in contact with Jeffree Star, and so I learned basically socially from that. So I know how to be authentic, be myself, be unique, create exciting content. That's to the extent that I do my things on, online, and it works. But again, also obviously it works more than just getting followers. I mean, I have people that come to my meet and greets, they drive 5 hours. They'll film meet and greets just to say hi. No dog training, nothing. For my seminars, people fly in, and it's only getting bigger and bigger. There's something very exciting coming. Is that my next one starting in November? These are the biggest events I ever had. There's a lot of people signed up already. The dog families are already sold out, but we already have more spectators than ever before. And we still have time for people to continue to sign up, because we're getting a much bigger venue. Is going to be something that's completely different than what I have done, and that's when we're going to be able to film it a lot better as well, because it'll be all with a microphone and everybody will be able to hear what I'm doing, and it's going to not be just, I'm going to go there and get some shots of the dogs that I train to promote what I do. It's going to be really for long format videos.
Yeah, I like that.
I would love to get a videographer to just get. I'm working on it. I have tried.
It's tough.
It's hard.
It's tough, right? So it's funny, this guy can relate quite a bit to it, because Josh is not a dog trainer. Josh is a media guy, right? So he comes on the podcast and he does the show with me, every week, and he films it and edits it and all that kind of stuff. But Josh used to actually work in facility with me, and he would follow me around and film videos and stuff like that. And that probably was the biggest learning curve initially, wasn't it? Is figuring out what is the important dog stuff that I need to be making video clips out of, right?
100%. Yeah. It's knowing exactly what to get and what not to at the same time,
Yeah, it's tough for sure.
If I'm working with a dog that I have to use a certain approach, unless everything is explained, it won't make sense. So for example, a dog that's just sitting quietly, but I know when I start to work with them, they're going to get aggressive. If I don't explain really well why that is done, it doesn't matter that I'm saying what I'm doing and explaining everything that I'm doing. They're still gonna say, but you made the dog aggressive. He was just standing there fine until you held his leash. Why would you take the leash? And there's an explanation for all of that, but the owner have to be good about explaining also from what they tell me in person. Saying that on camera is different for the owners a lot of times. They're shy. There's all kinds of variables. But anyways, I mean, that's definitely my main focus right now. I'm actually going to post. I was going to make a post today. I'm looking for a videographer. I want someone. I'm going to start to try some new ones again. And really, I understand what people are looking for now. And I think, I have all these eyeballs on me, beyond just social media.
Yeah.
So the thing with, as far as controversy and all the, the bad press, that's easy for me to turn into something positive, because once I deliver my side of the story and I deliver my how I do things in details, people will understand. And so whenever they watch dog daddy stuff, they're going to see what I'm putting out, and so I'm going to have more people coming and understand and getting even a stronger support team, basically, of clients and followers.
Yeah, no, I really like your growth mindset with a lot of it, and you got really good self-awareness of like changes to make and stuff to help continue to grow, right? Obviously what you've been doing has been working, right? But there's all, we're ever evolving, we're ever changing, which is cool. And I really like your idea too of, you mentioned, the idea of collaborating on seminars, that's why I brought up the American Standard Canine and Garrett, right? Is because when I saw those videos of you guys together, I was like, oh, that's really cool, because like I said, I like Garrett a lot. I had a great conversation with you, right? You guys are obviously helping people in your own ways and stuff. And the idea of showcasing more, right? And just continuing to provide more and more value for people and building those connections and working alongside people and stuff like that, I think is an invaluable thing that not a lot of dog trainers are doing out there right now, because it can get so easy to get hung up in like, because you lose trust in everybody else, because you see all these dogs that have been to like 7, 8 freaking other trainers before. It's like you feel like on your own, like God, like nobody else can help them, right? So I really love that idea. I really love that idea as well, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely something we're looking into for next year. To have some collaborations with other trainers, and it'll be good. It'll be beneficial for everybody. We get a group of people together. They get to learn from more than one trainer and one perspective, and it's a win-win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like that. Hell yeah. Josh, you got anything else you want to throw into the pig?
No, I guess my only thing is, Zach George, if you made it this far, shame on you. Because he's going to watch this. He stalks
He's watched
us.
All of our videos and commented all of them so far.
Yeah, so shame on you. Because my big thing, and we've talked about this a few times, is your approach seems like harsh, but it's like you are helping people. Like that's your main goal, is you help these people that have gone maybe 5 or 6 other places, or it's just gotten to a point where it's like, yeah, the vet is going to put the dog down, or we got to figure out what's going on. And I hate that Zach George has taken this like approach where he's kind of trying to shame these people away from trying to get help, Yeah. And like we said, like for you, you've dealt with it, how to kind of take that flack and that heat, but these people are just normal people they're just really trying to get help for their animal, and their lives. And I really hate that he's kind of taken this weird stance on shaming these people. Like in his video, he's like, oh, they really care about their dogs, but we're going to make them but you're making them feel like they shouldn't go to you.
Yeah, and see, really the sad thing also is how they not only manipulate the videos that I post, because again, there's a full context. Yeah. And yes, there's always people that are going to disagree. They don't want the dog to be corrected at all. But if the full context was given, people would have the right to form their own opinion instead of being manipulated to one opinion. Everything that he does is to manipulate people, including saying that no one supports me, no other dog trainer supports me. Because what happens is the majority of trainers actually support me especially if they have been to my classes. Now the problem is if they speak out, he's gonna send people to harass them. So he basically is trying to hide all of that. Like I just had the former LAPD in my class, and animal control, rescue for like 10 years of one of the largest German Shepherd rescues, and a veterinarian, all in the same class, just by coincidence. And once they were there, and I asked them to do, a testimony of the class, but they would go and start harassing them. They called all those places, how dare they support me. So it's not that they don't support me, it's that literally these people want to basically scare everybody away, to basically make it seem like I'm standing on my own because I'm so bad that no one agrees with me. And the only people that come to me because they can hide this and I post those videos are the people that are uneducated, and everybody else, it's like they are not competent. It doesn't matter who they are. It's like they're not relevant, they're not competent, all because they were there in person and they spoke their truth about what they saw. They got attacked by, just people online to then basically be afraid. Now, luckily, some people are starting to not back down for that. Like even the venues that I worked in, like they were there and they're like, no, I'm not going to, give up to the pressure. And the guy literally was there side by side with me, showing me that he had 100 voicemails from all, him and his followers.
Yeah.
And then the negative reviews, and the guy is like, we in touch. And that's, the same thing with the one in Canada. He's like open doors for me to come back whenever I want to come back, even though there was protests in front of the place, the police there and all that. The guy is still on my side. So people are starting to not just cave in to the pressure. Mm-hmm. Because I'm transparent. Even with this, I'll go there and tell them, like, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And they don't like that he's doing that. He's basically trying to force everybody to agree with him. And if you don't agree with him, then you're going to pay the price.
Yeah.
And so it makes it harder for people to publicly stand up and say, I have been to Dog Daddy's class and I agree with what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You said you watched the video, but the really funny thing that we got from that was because in their video, his wife was like, you need to treat dogs like you would any insect or other human. Like there should never be any negative like reinforcement or punishment. And then literally like 10 minutes later, they're like, we're going to put all these negative comments on these venues, and we'll only take them away if they will never have the dog daddy back. It's like,
wow, a direct use of negative reinforcement.
And it's really easy to just sit behind a computer and just say whatever you want to say when you're not really going hands-on and helping the dogs. And really comes down to that. Pretty much everybody that is, really putting any type of effort into being so loud about it, they only talk about what they do and what is possible and what is right, but they don't really show us. And so again, he always leaves that different opinions. There can be always going to be a crazy person sitting there shouting out whatever their beliefs are, but there's a difference between how can they actually help your dog.
Yeah.
And I really feel like anyone with an actual problem at home, they know that.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They know that. But the people that don't have that, or of course, like people love to jump into drama and controversy and be a part of it. And so there's people that are just bored at home as well, or they're competition and they just like to feed into that.
Yeah.
And then the rest is the general population. And he likes to refer to them as like the general population is uneducated. And that's true to a certain extent, but that does not mean that those are the only people that come to my classes. Like I said, I literally have proof of very like well-known dog trainers that I have worked with, and veterinarians, and shelters that I volunteer at. But the moment that they speak up that I volunteer there, they get harassed by people that just simply for having a different opinion. These people, they only have a different opinion. They don't really have evidence of everything that they say against me or even in favor of what they promote. They just have a bunch of words and they put a bunch of vague terms and words to basically justify why they're right and why I'm wrong.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Well, the only other topic I have on that is I hate that he comes in and has all these opinions on you, because I've never seen him train any kind of dog that is even close to these aggressive dogs that you work with. So it's like he doesn't even work with those kind of dogs. So like, how can you even say, like, have an opinion on it when you've never had to deal with something that that aggressive?
That's that whole community though, right? And the vet behaviorists, for example, like they don't even touch the dogs they're working with. They like look at them one time and then prescribe 17 medications and send them off on their way.
See, like that's really that problem too, and it's kind of like it's really crazy that people would not pay attention to the details, because like this guy, we have clocked him, right? He has posted about me online as early as 3 in the morning his time, 5 in the morning his time. Like, he literally is like live 3 hours talking about me per day.
Yeah.
And when people commented, why can't we see you training dogs? Can you do in-person training? I'm too busy for that.
Too busy doing all this.
Yeah.
Everybody can see for themselves. It's public information.
Yeah.
He will claim that he's too busy to do in-person training or to work with an aggressive dog that we select, all these other excuses why he can't do it. But he literally dedicates every single day of his time to talking about me.
Yeah.
So it's bizarre that people cannot like see through that, and we just want physical evidence. Like we don't want a bunch of words and like, but it's always going back to the same thing. But I'm only speaking from this and that. Like, okay, that's great. But yes, I believe my ways is better.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way I have seen.
Yeah.
Like as far as compared to, science, and again, just show us how it actually works, in a practical way.
Yeah.
Not just saying that it works.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, so the last thing that I got to ask about is what. So I think another big critique a lot of people have had recently is some of the posts you've made that have been very just obscure and strange. So I'll give you two examples, right? So the Zach George poisoning your dog's post. Obviously, you posted about it. There wasn't, I mean, that's a pretty wild accusation to make about somebody, obviously. And then we didn't hear anything else about it. And then the post yesterday you posted about accidentally dropping your puppy off of the balcony. And then I think that one you deleted and isn't up anymore. What's up with those posts? Like some of those do feel a little bit like poking the bear, I would say.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, some of the posts that I have made, again, it's kind of like, it's social media, and sometimes there is no set way on how to handle different things. You can't just block them, delete them. You sometimes you have to embrace it. So my team hate when I do it. Sometimes I'm just there and I just, it's just like, it's just not even taking the heat from it. It's just like the nonsense and the lies and just like, the manipulation that they post, that sometimes I will I have a video of me crying about something personal from like back in December, and that video is just on my phone.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'm gonna create something because I just did a video introducing my new puppy.
Yes.
And I thought, literally, I honestly they surprised me sometimes. I didn't expect that people would actually be upset that I did that video.
You're talking the introduction, one of you holding the puppy. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the one of me actually holding the puppy.
Yes.
People were actually calling me out and saying how they're gonna unfollow me and how I'm horrible for, even like faking it or something. And it's like, it's not a matter of faking that I dropped the puppy. It's just a transition. Like literally, it could have been, if I threw like a piece of rock, it wouldn't be me faking to throw the rock. It's just like I'll throw the rock and then the next clip is something else.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It wasn't really my intention of even pretending to drop the puppy. It's just like, obviously, I'm not going to drop the puppy, and I'm trying to get a transition, and then it's just whatever idea I came up with. I'm holding the puppy there. It's going to fall, and then it's the next clip of me introducing the puppy. It's just like, I don't think anything more of it. And so when people are attacking, and I'm sitting there, I decided to post that video yesterday. And then, I deleted it this morning, and I was going to make a video because I also feel bad that my followers see it and they are confused, and my clients see it and then they are confused. And it's just like,
I think that's where you kind of you're drawing the fine line where it's funny you brought up I think you said you worked with like Jeffree Star, right? Who is like the pro at the sensationalism kind of vibe, you know what I mean? And you're in this unique position. I think you guys talked about it a little bit on Beckman's podcast when you were on it, where like you've hit this like borderline like celebrity status, like you are a whole it's like your dog training is one thing and then like you're another thing. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like like when people, I mean, honestly, I'm really even surprised myself. Like people see me at the airports and they will like literally be on their knees. They're like, I don't idolize anyone, but like you're the only person that and they like this has happened so many times. It's not like one isolated case. Like they will almost miss their flights. Yeah. Like they're like someone's calling like, hey, we have to come. They're boarding the flight. Yeah. Like and I have some of this on video. Some of them it's not on video, but people will literally be like shaking when they see me because they're so excited. And I think it's again, I really appreciate that people have that love for me. And again, it's one of those things that come. There's some people that want to see me dead, and then there's other just people that would give anything to just like spend a day with me, and they don't even know me. It's just through social media, and it's that impact that it can have on people on social media. And I think being authentic and myself, I literally post everything. Not everything, but I post a lot more, especially for a dog trainer. I definitely post a lot more. Just my personal things, like even what I'm eating, what is going on, giving little updates here and there, sharing my life, different aspects of it. I think people really just get to see you for who you are, and they understand, and then they get to see all the troubles that I have like gone through as well, the obstacles, and I think that makes people fall more like in love with what you do and with your persona at least, because that's what they see online, you know. But I'm very genuine about like what I post. Yes, there are those few posts that I have made that are not, but so something did happen to my dogs. Like bizarre things have been happening, so it's not like that wasn't necessarily a lie for that particular video, but we don't have enough evidence of like who it is.
Yeah.
And so something did happen. So it's not, that one wasn't really a lie with my dogs getting poisoned. And it's just like, again, the reason that I take it down is because like there's other ways to go about it. And
Yeah.
I have to have more proof of like what really happened and who did it. But there has just been like a lot of bizarre things, like my car getting vandalized and like in different ways, both physically outside, but also things being manipulated with my car when I have left it parked outside somewhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, different few things, like little things here and there, that we now have, like, it's something that I should learn to just like, you know.
Yeah, I think the tough thing about that is like I understand you're making a joke out of it, you're making fun out of it and stuff like that. And obviously, like you said, like 50% of that is not a lie from the standpoint of like weird things are happening to you. But it's like I feel like am I Spider-Man by saying like, isn't it like with great power comes great responsibility? I think with such a large following, like without like substantiated evidence against somebody, like that was the one thing that I saw that I was like, that was a pretty bold claim. I mean, that could really hurt somebody. You know what I mean? Like especially if there's not like evidence that, you know, he actually sent people to poison your dog, you know?
So at the time that I did it, it was when he was getting more aggressive with attacks. Like he was, he had started on TikTok, you know, making like post after post. It was pretty much on TikTok first. And just the lies and the manipulation and like saying things about me that are also not true. And with that haven't happened with my dogs just a few days before. I get what you're saying. It was like an assumption and potential thing, and you know, it was just kind of weird on how things were going online. And he was specifically that he had never really done before. He had left a comment on my Instagram like months ago, but then right before that video that I made, he was actually coming to my page and like, you know, antagonizing. And so it was something going on that was like beyond what he had done before. And so yes, it was a moment of like a mistake, you know, like I wouldn't, that's why like we're handling it legally right now and trying to figure things out of what really happened. Yeah. But, you know, I would admit, and also, you know, like you said, definitely the level of responsibility that I have to have, because I do have a lot of people that are very invested into what I do. Like they really believe me and trust me. And I feel like sometimes I'll post things that even as a joke, and the next day I'm going to come out and explain that it was a joke. I can see where they can discredit me, and there's no need for me to do that, because I don't need to do that in order to, you know, have supporters and have people on my back. And it's actually the opposite. It's been like a moment of learning as well, because, you know, like you said, getting a lot of followers really fast. And there's not a course that you can take on how to be an influencer, how to deal with all these people having an opinion on you and giving you advice. I mean, I get people messaging me every single day with an opinion, but also an advice that sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. They're basing it off on that personal, you know, lifestyle, and it's completely different than mine. And when you're really walking in my shoes, it's like a whole different, you know, thing to deal with. And so I have to learn how to be smart about it and how to handle everything that is thrown at me. Yeah, I understand that completely. Listen, man, I think this is a good conversation. I think this is going to be really good for a lot of people to hear, just as far as, you know, understanding that, you know, this isn't anybody saying, oh, yeah, I'm saying sorry for my training and my training is bad or anything like that. But people understanding that, like, you know, you're understanding how important perception is with some things, you know? And I love some of your ideas you talked about as far as looking to see like what the next level of the Dog Daddy is, like how you're going to kind of continue to shift your brand in a direction that's going to like
represent your training, better. You know what I mean? Because like you made a phenomenal name for yourself, but I'd like to see you a little more respected amongst the broad dog community, like vocally. You know what I mean? Not just like, they come to the seminars on the side and don't talk about you a whole lot and stuff like that. Like, I do think you're doing so much good for the dog community, and I would love to see that respected more,
Yeah, and so there's many things that I am working towards as well, because I feel like I have to basically prove myself. Like, there's a lot of controversy, like it's very old stuff too.
Yeah.
So I can talk about that real quick if you have time, because
Sure.
I think everything started from like controversies from years ago,
Yes.
right? That I did not have a license to have my dog, something very minimal, like having 3 extra dogs, nothing major happening, but that made the news because I was making the news.
Yeah.
So now it became like, illegal kennel. To then, it moved on to many different things. So I can point out just a few scenarios of me dumping 25 dogs in the desert, got millions of views on TikTok.
Yeah.
Of some girls literally just saying that I put 25 dogs in a U-Haul truck,
Yeah.
dumped them in the desert, and they were never found again. Me sawing a horse and then giving it to my dogs.
Yes.
So all those things that I have to kind of like be able to explain and like prove to be wrong, because those are accusations that even when I am respected, they always gonna be like, but he did this and that and that. But what about that other thing? And then people are still gonna find a reason until I have enough proof and enough. One of the things that I'm working on is finding ways to be respected, right? And so being respected, I think it comes in different ways. Being authentic and being like not making these types of posts that we just talked about, that obviously will help. Making full context videos where people get to really understand what I do. And then in addition to that, being the most successful that I can be, because people want to be successful. So if I can try through all the obstacles and all the, the just controversies and all that, then people will want to pick sides with me, because I'm covering basically all the different corners. It's like, well, I understand his method, so we got that covered. I understand that those things that he's been accused of, he didn't really happen. He didn't do those things because they didn't happen. So I just have to be able to prove that to people and have more people understand what's going on. And then in addition to that, he is like extremely successful, because I'm working on things that completely honest, I don't think any other dog trainer have ever done. So there's things that I'm working on, there's including lifestyle and just things that I'm able to do, because even that alone is controversy. Like, people always tell me, like, because I dress a certain way, or I drive a certain car, or I live a certain way, I am not a real dog trainer.
Yeah.
But those are easy things to counter. It's something that I am literally breaking the box and stepping outside of that bubble that dog trainers have. Like, you don't have a training polish, so you're not a dog trainer. You don't have a uniform, you're not a dog trainer. So again, once I cover everything else, just being authentic, living my best life. And I mean, next year is going to be huge with the things that I have, the projects that I've been working and building up for next year. And so definitely I'm very excited for that. And it's, again, something that I have never seen another dog trainer do. And it's going to take me to a level that anyone watching, not just dog trainers, dog owners, but other people as well, they're going to be like, it's something that they're going to be able to look after. It's actually going to make people want to be dog trainers, because it already does. I get a lot of people that they are inspired to become a dog trainer because of the lifestyle that I live. It's not just the methods. Yes, a lot of people want to help aggressive dogs, that they get inspired by that. But they also, I live a pretty good life. I'm very independent. I don't work for anyone else. I'm able to afford things that most people can't afford, and all by just being a dog trainer. Like, obviously I use social media, there's money from that and different things, but it all comes from, I built a reputation around helping dogs. And I help dogs for free in shelters. I'm able to do both. I'm able to give so much free time. I never have charged. Even when I was homeless, my training to shelter was always free. Instinctively, I always wanted to do that. No one can ever say I charged them to go to the shelters. And I have done many shelters. I have, even taken on dogs, many dogs, for free to help them. And I continue to do that, as much as I can. But I'm also able to build enough of a clientele that I'm able to charge the prices that I charge and build a successful business on that. And next year is only going to be better. And I want to use that as a way to, inspire people in life, not just in the dog, nothing to do with dogs, but in general. I came from nothing. Like, I moved out when I was 19, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing now. So I had to move out to do that. And again, those are things that I haven't really talked about, but some of the personal things that I had to endure to actually be here today, because otherwise I would just be like everybody else.
Yeah.
Basically living a regular life. Probably, I don't even know what I would be doing because I would be doing something that I don't love. I would be being forced to do something else.
Yeah.
And I definitely wouldn't be here today. And I had to learn the hard way, both in a personal level, but also in a business level and social media level. Learn how to deal with everything because I was dealing with everything on my own until had proven myself enough that now I have a team. And then now we're taking it to the next level, which is to get people more on board, with what I do. But I think when I put all that out and I explain to people, again, if I can do that, starting from nothing and dealing with all of what I have dealt with to still do it, and then be able to take it to the next level, which is again what's going to come next year, then people will definitely have a different picture of me than they have now. The people that don't understand it, yet what I do.
I like that. And it's funny, you mentioned a minute ago, like, talking about your past things, which I remember on the last episode, we went very briefly into some of that kind of stuff. And obviously we're not going to get super into it today, but I think, talking about like past, like haunting you a little bit sometimes, like the one thing everybody loves to lean back on is that like Truth About Augusto, Ultimate German Shepherd's Facebook page that's been around forever, obviously, with all those claims of he did this, he did that, he did this, he did that, right? And I think you've made a short video, maybe kind of talking about it a little bit, but I think you going through at some point and like one by one, like disproving those points and those things made about you, I think a lot of people would have a ton of respect for that. So that it's like they're hearing it from the horse's mouth. It's not like, it's this secret of things people are saying about you or anything like that. It's like, hey, this is what actually happened, Yeah,
because honestly, with all honesty, like out of everything, I'm actually really proud of the actual problem that I have had,
Sure.
Like I have had like a couple of civil lawsuits after work with thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah.
Like a couple of civil lawsuits. I have never been arrested in my entire life. I have no criminal record. I have never been charged for anything. The most violations I have found is like a couple of dogs that the rabies was expired and needed to update the rabies. That it's like literally to that. And I have been inspected at midnight at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like my house has been raided by the police for them to inspect because I was just people making accusations.
Yeah.
And none of that have ever led to anything of like, oh my God, we found this and that and that. But people are still get away with saying about the 25 dogs in the desert, the horse being sought out, all the dogs, skeletons found in my property.
Yeah.
That I am a criminal, that I'm like an animal abuser with all these like charges and registered whatever, which is not true. Like that's just all they have is their opinion and the lies that they put online and they run with it. That's literally not one case where I would have to sit here and be like, I'm afraid of that because I did that. Like I haven't done anything like absurd and crazy and like like I said, sawing up a horse or dumping up dogs. Like those are literally just with no base at all, zero evidence of it happening.
Yeah.
And they have been seen by millions and millions of people over the years of just spreading that. I'm just someone who cannot be trusted because I killed a bunch of dogs. I dumped 25 dogs in the desert. I sawed up a horse and fed it to my dogs. A dog had ripped someone else's face off and they needed true reconstructive surgery. This is on a Google review. And among many, many things, that none of those things have ever happened. And there's like no evidence of that. All you have is a couple of lawsuits with like, I bought a dog, I wasn't really satisfied. And again, even that I could explain. Like there's one big one that is like the major one is someone bought a dog from me for $5,000. This dog was imported from Germany, was an IPO3 dog. He was hips and elbows certified. This dog, the ironic part is just as simple as this. The dog had been to the vets within a week before he went home. A full exam. So the dog was actually not even like a dog that I let's put it this way. I facilitated the deal, right? From a private person that bought
I
the dog
understand.
from Germany.
Yeah. You were the middleman, the broker.
But ironically, I thought this dog may have kennel cough.
Yeah.
So they took it to the vet to do an exam. And so because of that, they did blood work. The dog had a full coverage insurance, the best coverage insurance it could have for dogs, right? So nothing was wrong with him. And then he ended up going home a week later. Now this dog ended up having all these problems that the owner mentioned to me. And the whole thing is they put a lawyer right away. The owner was a fan. She was like a super fan. She wanted the dog to hear my voice over the phone. because she was like excited because I lived with this dog, I lived with the owner for a while.
Yeah.
So anyways, what happened was I was really busy. I wasn't really talking to her. So this turned into something that she ended up taking me to court, suing me. I never actually ended up going to court. I never even got served. So it was also one of the reasons why, it was ruled in her favor. But when the lawyer was actually reaching out to me about it after the case was already there and it was already pending, I told them this dog had full coverage insurance, health insurance. So if there's actually anything wrong with the dog, they can take advantage of that. They didn't want to accept that. They wanted me to pay back X amount of money. And again, I had all the evidence that this dog was completely healthy. He was just examined. He was a high quality dog. And the problem they said he had was some type of heart problem, So it's a very long, complicated story.
I understand.
The dog there was nothing wrong with him. And and one thing that is ironic is when he went home, the very first day, one of the things that he had wrong with him is apparently she let him sit on hard surface because his testicles were literally red.
Yeah.
And they did all these types of exams thinking there was something like more serious wrong, and that he wouldn't went away. In the process of that, she told me that she befriended the vet. She was so friendly with the vet that he was watching he or she, I don't even know, was watching the dog overnight for free. So that already was kind of bizarre, and this happened in California. It's a very cool, happy, place. And I have no idea, again, this is just from my point of view, that there's a high chance that they just actually are the ones that were scamming us to try to get money. Because again, the biggest thing that I can prove is there was full health insurance on the dog.
Yeah.
So whatever that was wrong with this dog, they could just have taken advantage of the insurance. I could have transferred it. I offered to transfer it to them, but this was after they had already started a lawsuit and I had already been served. And ironically, I didn't even be served. I had been already basically I lost the case because I was never served.
Yeah.
So I was served at a house that I had moved out of. It went through, and I learned about it by seeing it posted online. That was, what do you call it? Not conviction, but when you lose in court, like you basically have a.
I know what you're saying. I'm not sure. Verdict, is that it? The verdict?
There's another word for it, but anyways, basically there was. That I lost a case.
Sure.
Basically, that's a thing for it that I can think of right now. But basically, that's what I saw posted online, and then I started reaching out to them, and I was gonna appeal it. It was a whole process, very difficult. Not worth. I had already lost. So now any lawyer that I go to, they know I got for fraud. I lost a case for fraud, and there's for like $13,000, and they know. I'm going to want to pay a lot of money to get out of it. So it's like either I pay them the $13,000 or I pay the lawyer $13,000 just to clean my name.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know what? I just thought about it. I was going to make a video about it, but ended up that it just, it kind of goes away because it's one of those things that people kind of forget about it. So in a sense, like I'm still here, I'm still thriving. So it's bad because it allows people to run with it and use it against me.
Yeah.
But it also is like, it costs so much money and time that at the time, especially I didn't have.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be able to just be fighting with them back and forth and that was it. And it's like, but those are to the extent of what I legally have had obligations with.
Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, like people forget too, like if you fucking dug into every minute of somebody's life, like you're going to find stupid shit people have done, right? Mistakes, things, that have been made and this and that. And at all different levels. Like I've made big mistakes before. I've made little mistakes. I'm sure Zach George has made huge mistakes and little mistakes in his career. Things that if they were out in the public, people would look at, and especially with the amount of followers you had, be like, oh my God, this guy's such a fucking horrible person and blah, blah, blah. Like people forget that sometimes, like we're all human and it doesn't excuse us to do bad things, obviously, but like mistakes are inevitable. And that's a part of the growth of an individual is making those mistakes, learning from them and growing and becoming better than after. So, yeah.
Yeah. I tell everybody, I'm definitely not an angel and I'm not perfect, but it's to the extent that they take things, it's actually kind of bizarre because if anything, I'm actually less than most people, I mean, I think most people would probably have had more problems for them to ever get this much of like hate and accusations towards them, and like, just all just false accusations basically. Like I feel like there's people that have done things a lot worse, that have been arrested, and they don't actually get people highlighting that as much. And I have never had any of those things happen, and still I feel like reading those things is one of the most like criminals you could imagine, because I mean, even to the point that he's coming to this country, like we have to stop him. It's like, it to me feels like I just killed an entire family and I'm like running to another country.
Yeah, right.
Because they go so extreme about it that, and the thing is, again, I have fans and supporters from all different classes. So what happens is it's kind of funny because they think that their opinion is all that matters. So they forget to remember or realize that I have people in real life. There are police officers, there are lawyers, there are doctors, there are the dog trainers. Literally, when you have this many people, you start to get a community of people from all different classes.
Yep.
So I have all those people there, like clients and supporters of what I do. And this includes, anything. Like it could be someone at the border. I was going to the border in Canada, and people that were fans, they wanted to get a picture with me. And so it's like they're, sending letters to don't let him in. They were aware of it when I got there, but they understand that it comes from social media. They try to say that it's not a social media thing, but it really is, because it's just their opinion. Yeah. Like everybody has to have the opinion. Like that's just different organizations and all, but they still are not the law. They're not they say it and that's it. Like it's still just an opinion, and they're educated in some things, but they're not as educated on the topic that they're discussing at hand as people think that they are. And so it really comes down to just their opinion. And if they forget that, it actually kind of, backfires on them, because when they push all these people to go against me, they don't realize that like in real life, I have all these people like in my favor as well. Honestly, one thing that I'll say right now, I'm very confident that if at any moment I needed people to show up for something, like even the protest that he is doing, I can guarantee you, if there was a legitimate reason where I said some things got really serious and I need people to show up and not let them stop us from doing this, way more people would show up. I guarantee that people would fly out to be there to support a cause, because my cause is something that is like more genuine. Instead of with him, it's just opinion and people that are feeding into that. It's like competition, and people are willing to walk to a place. They're not willing to go as far. Like I said, people drive hours and hours just to come say hi to me. If there was a moment where I really needed people, because my cause is a genuine cause. It's not like me just, trying to destroy someone and having a really good reason other than it's their opinion. And they do a good job about presenting a case with false information. And that's why people even believe it, because they do present it in a way that it sounds so much bigger than it really is,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great place to start wrapping it up. That's fantastic. Listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I think this is going to be a really, really good podcast for people to listen to. I enjoyed the conversation. Like I said, I think you're helping people, man. I think you seem to have a good mindset about, some steps to make to keep moving yourself in the right direction in the public eye. And, I'm glad we were able to chat again.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Let me take a screenshot so I can have a photo to post about it.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Here you go.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, listen, man, I'll let you know when everything goes live. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, take care.